I never thought I'd be that guy. You know, the guy who gets played like a fool and then has to figure out what the hell just happened. My name's Jake, by the way. I'm 36, work in finance, and I was with my wife Emily for about 8 years. Things weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but I genuinely believed we had something real. Our anniversary was coming up and I wanted to do something special. I planned a weekend getaway, just us in the mountains, no phones, no distractions. I thought it'd be a nice break, reconnect, celebrate our years together. Emily was acting a little off in the weeks leading up to it, but she always had some excuse. "Work's busy," she'd say, or "I'm stressed, can't you just understand?" I brushed it off, trusting her or maybe just wanting to trust her. The trip started great. We checked into this cozy lodge and for a while it felt like old times. We laughed, took pictures, talked about future plans. But then, little things started to bother me. Emily was texting a lot, more than usual, and she was secretive about her phone. I'd glance over and catch her hiding the screen when I looked her way. She'd brush it off with a quick smile, say she was just chatting with her sister or some coworker. Typical, right? But I had a gut feeling. And then came the weirdest part. I was in the bathroom and I left my phone on the nightstand, just a habit, I guess. When I came back, I saw her phone glowing on the bed. I didn't think much, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked it up and unlocked it because honestly I wasn't expecting anything. What I saw made my stomach drop. There were messages, flirty, intimate, clearly more than just friends. The words, the emojis, the timing, it all pointed to something going on behind my back during what was supposed to be our special weekend. My mind started racing. I saw her texting Kevin, my supposed best friend. They were talking about meeting up later, about how hot she looked, about wanting to do things I wouldn't approve of. My blood went cold. Kevin, my best friend since college, who I'd trusted with my life. And Emily, my wife, the woman I loved and built my life around, was cheating on me with Kevin. Right under my nose during our anniversary trip. I didn't even know what to feel first. Shock, betrayal, pure rage. I stared at the screen, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut in 1,000 ways. How long had this been going on? How much had I missed? I wanted to scream, cry, break something. I felt so stupid for trusting her, for thinking she was different from every other woman who's ever betrayed me. I never thought Emily would be the one to do this, especially not with Kevin. That's what cut the deepest, knowing my best friend, the guy I introduced her to, was sleeping with my wife. It was like a slap in the face. I sat there for a minute, just holding her phone in my hand, trying to process what I'd found. I felt the burn of tears, the anger rising like a flood. I had to decide what to do next. Do I confront her right now? Do I pack my bag and leave? I couldn't believe I was even considering these options. My mind was spinning and I knew one thing for sure. My world as I knew it was shattered. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but everything in those messages pointed to a betrayal that cut way deeper than I ever expected. The way Emily talked to Kevin, flirty, suggestive, almost like they were sneaking around behind my back for months. I was trying to keep my cool, but honestly I was fuming. My first instinct was to call her out right then and there, but I knew better. My hands were trembling as I held her phone, and I realized I needed to think this through before I exploded. I slipped the phone into my pocket and took a deep breath. I had to decide the next move. I could just storm out, yell, accuse her of everything, but I knew that wouldn't get me anywhere. I needed a plan. So I waited. I stayed in that hotel room, pretending to be calm when inside I was anything but. The anger simmered, but beneath it was this crushing feeling of betrayal I couldn't shake. How could she do this? How could she lie so blatantly? When Emily finally came back from whatever she was doing, she looked at me with that usual bitchy smirk, like she knew she was fooling everyone. I couldn't stand it. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Who the hell is Kevin to you?" She blinked, surprised I was even talking, then rolled her eyes. "What are you talking about? Kevin, that's my friend Jake, you're overthinking it." But I wasn't overthinking anything. I had her messages, I had proof, and she was trying to brush it off like it was nothing. She then started spitting out lies, saying she was just talking to Kevin about some work stuff, that I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. "You're so insecure," she said, scoffing. "Kevin's just a friend, you always think the worst." She was so quick to deny everything like it was just some misunderstanding. But I saw her slip her phone into her purse when she thought I wasn't looking. That's when I knew she was hiding something, and it wasn't just innocent conversations. My gut was telling me I needed to confront her more directly, but I also felt like I was about to explode. I wanted to scream, to cry, to shake her and demand the truth. But I stayed quiet for a moment. Instead, I told her I saw the messages. Her expression changed instantly, her eyes widened, her face flushed with this mix of anger and panic. She tried to deny it again, said I was crazy, that I was making things up, that she'd never cheat on me. But her voice was shaky, and her excuses sounded pathetic. At that moment, I felt this mix of heartbreak and fury. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she betray me with my best friend? I was furious because I felt so stupid for trusting her, so naive. And I was devastated because I loved her. That's what made it so hard. I'd been with her through everything, and now I was staring at this mess, realizing I'd been played for a fool. The worst part, she didn't even seem to care how much she'd hurt me. That bitchy smile, like she thought she was some kind of queen, made me want to scream. She kept saying Kevin was just a friend, that I was overreacting, that I was jealous. But the proof was right there. I had her own messages and she was still lying. I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I told her I wanted the truth, that I wasn't leaving that room until she was honest. And that's when she finally broke down. Her facade cracked and she started crying, saying she didn't mean for it to get this far, that she was stressed and it just happened. Yeah, right. That's the classic line. I didn't buy it for a second. I could tell it was just another lie she told herself to justify what she did. My mind was racing, trying to process everything. I felt this huge weight pressing down on me, the kind that makes your chest tighten and makes your stomach turn. I kept asking myself how I could have missed the signs, how I didn't see that she'd been lying right in front of me all along. I thought we were happy, or at least stable, but deep down I knew I was just fooling myself. I was so naive to believe that someone I loved blindly wouldn't betray me like this. And Kevin, my best friend, doing this. That was the punch in the gut I wasn't prepared for. It felt like everything I built, everything I trusted, was crumbling right in front of me. After she finally broke down and admitted something, though I don't think she ever truly owned up, things got even messier. I was sitting there, staring at her, trying to process what she just said about stress and it just happening. But honestly, it was all noise at that point. My mind kept looping back to Kevin's name, the way their messages matched up so perfectly, how they were talking about having sex during our anniversary trip. That's what haunted me, the fact that Kevin, the guy I'd trusted enough to call my best friend, had been screwing my wife behind my back. That betrayal hit harder than anything. I knew I couldn't just stay there and do nothing. I had to decide what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront Kevin immediately, but I held back. I wanted to see how she'd react first. She kept trying to spin her lies, saying this was some mistake, that it was all innocent. Innocent? Yeah, right. I saw the messages. The dirty talk, the flirtation. Everything pointed to a physical affair, not just some emotional slip-up. The way she looked at her phone, how nervous she was getting, and her insistence that she hadn't done anything wrong made me realize she was trying to gaslight me. I felt this terrible mix of anger and sadness boiling inside me. It was like watching my entire world fall apart piece by piece. I remember thinking I might just lose it right then and there. I stood up, my voice shaking but trying to stay calm. I told her I was done with her lies. I told her I knew she'd been screwing around with Kevin for months, possibly longer. I asked her how many times she'd done this, how many times she'd betrayed me and made a fool out of everything I thought we had. Her face went pale, her eyes darted around, and she tried to deny everything again. I asked her point blank, "Did you have sex with Kevin?" That's when she hesitated for just a second, enough for me to see the fear in her eyes. She stammered, then finally admitted, "Yes." She said it was just once, that it was a mistake, that she was drunk. But I knew better. Mistakes do usually happen more than once, especially not with someone you text secretly while your husband is right there, thinking everything's fine. And the worst part, her tone was so bitchy about it. Like I was the one overreacting, like I should understand that she's entitled to cheat on me because she's stressed, or whatever excuse she threw out. That's when I felt my world shatter even more. I'd always been the guy who believed in loyalty, who thought that marriage meant sticking through thick and thin. But now, I was watching her try to justify screwing around with my best friend while I was right there, hearing her lie and manipulate the truth. It made me realize she didn't care about me at all. It was all just a game to her, a way to get her needs met without thinking about how much she was destroying everything we had. My mind raced through every memory, every moment I'd ever trusted her, and it hit me how much I'd been played. How much I'd sacrificed, how much I gave her, and she just threw it all away with Kevin. That betrayal wasn't just about sex. It was about respect, about loyalty, about everything I thought we stood for. I felt like a damn idiot for not seeing the signs earlier, for thinking she was different from every other woman who cheats. And Kevin, God, the guy I brought into our life, who I thought was my friend, was just as guilty. It was like I had been blind the entire time. I told her bluntly, "You're done. I want you out of this house. I don't want to see you again." Her protest was weak. She started crying, begging me to forgive her, saying she loved me, that it was a mistake she'd never do again. But I'd heard enough. Her tears, her sorry excuse, none of that mattered anymore. The trust was gone. The love was shattered. All I could think about was how she'd lied to my face, how she'd betrayed everything we built, and how I was left to pick up the pieces of a life I thought was real. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat there, staring at the wall, feeling like I'd been hit by a train. I'd always prided myself on being a good husband, someone who'd stick through anything. But this was different. This was a betrayal so deep it changed me forever. I kept asking myself if I could forgive her, if I could move past it, or if that damage was just too much to repair. Honestly, I didn't know. All I knew was that I'd never trust her again, and I'd never trust Kevin either. They'd both lost me forever. The days that followed were a blur of cold silence and mounting anger. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and I sure as hell couldn't stop thinking about what she'd done. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Those bitchy smirks, the way she lied so effortlessly, the messages with Kevin that painted a clear picture of betrayal. I felt this strange mix of heartbreak and fury, like my heart had been torn out and stomped on. I told her to get out, and she left that very night. She packed her bag, gave me that fake sad look, and tried to say she was sorry, that she loved me, that she'd change. But I wasn't buying any of it. How could I? She'd lied so much that I didn't even recognize her anymore. The worst part was the way she acted, like I was the crazy one for suspecting her, like I was overreacting. That made me even more pissed. I was justifying my rage because I felt so betrayed, like she'd played me from the start. After she left, I stayed alone in the house, numb and angry. I kept replaying everything in my head, how we used to be, how she used to look at me, trust me. Now that trust was shattered, replaced by this gnawing bitterness. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How did I not see she was cheating? How did I not see the signs? And Kevin, my best friend, I never thought he'd do this to me. We shared everything, our struggles, our successes, our plans. And now I found out he'd been screwing my wife all along. That realization hit so hard it almost knocked me over. So many years of friendship gone in a second because of this. I kept asking myself why. Why Kevin? Why Emily? What did they get out of this? I mean, I'm not some perfect guy, but I wasn't that bad. I provided for her, loved her, tried to give her everything. And she repaid me by screwing the guy I trusted most. That hurt worse than anything I'd ever felt. I felt so disgusted, so betrayed, that I wanted to scream at the universe for being so cruel. And yet, even in all that rage, there was this tiny voice inside me that kept whispering, "What now?" I knew I had to think about my next move. I couldn't just let her walk away, not without some kind of response. I started to plan in my head. I decided I needed to confront Kevin eventually, face him and hear what he had to say. But first, I wanted to gather all the proof I could, make sure this wasn't some misunderstanding or a misinterpretation. I needed to be certain she was cheating and that Kevin was complicit. So I started digging through her things, trying to find more evidence. I found her phone, her emails, even some hidden messages she thought I'd never see. Every new piece of evidence made the anger boil hotter. But at the same time, I couldn't shake the sadness. I'd lost my wife, and somehow I knew I'd lost my best friend too. The trust I once had was broken beyond repair. It was like my entire life had been a lie and I was left sitting in the wreckage of it all. As I sat there staring at the chaos I'd uncovered, I realized that I was in a kind of limbo. Do I try to fix this? Do I forgive her and move on? Or do I cut my losses and start over? Honestly, I didn't have the answer yet. Right then, all I knew was that I'd never look at either of them the same way again. Trust was gone, replaced with this bitter resolve. Whatever came next, I knew I'd have to be a different man from this point on. The days turned into weeks and the pain only intensified. I kept replaying everything. Her betrayal, Kevin's involvement, the lies. They all haunted me. Honestly, I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to hold myself together while inside I was crumbling. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How could someone I loved and trusted so much do this to me? Every memory I had, every moment we shared, suddenly felt tainted, corrupted by her lies and Kevin's treachery. I made the decision that I couldn't let this define me, even though it felt like it was. I started focusing on myself, working out more, throwing myself into my job, trying to rebuild some sense of normalcy. But the thing that kept gnawing at me was the idea of revenge. Not some childish revenge, but something that would hit them where it hurts. Kevin especially. I wanted him to feel the pain of betrayal, the way I did. I knew I couldn't just let this go and pretend everything was fine. I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what exactly. One night I finally got the guts to call Kevin. I needed to hear it from him, get his side of the story if he even had one. I dialed his number, my hands trembling. When he answered, I didn't hold back. I told him I knew everything about the messages, about the sex, about the betrayal. I asked him point blank, "How could you do this to me? How could you sleep with my wife after everything we've been through?" There was a long pause on the line, and then he started lying, trying to deny everything, acting like I was just making assumptions. That made me even angrier. I told him I had proof, that I wasn't some naive fool and that I wanted him to own up. I warned him that I wasn't going to let this slide, that I was planning to confront Emily, and if he kept lying, I'd expose everything. The call ended with him cursing me out, saying I was jealous or paranoid. But I knew the truth, and I knew I was going to make them pay in my own way. I also decided I needed to confront Emily again. Face her one last time, get closure, or whatever that was supposed to be. When I saw her after she moved out, she was cocky, dismissive, like she didn't care anymore. She kept insisting it was just a mistake, that she loved me and I was overreacting. But I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I told her I knew about the sex, about Kevin, and that I was done. I told her I was going to make sure she paid for what she did, that I wouldn't let her walk away without consequences. She rolled her eyes and called me possessive, manipulative, like I was. The problem, not her. That moment I realized how much I'd been played. She thought she could lie her way out of this, manipulate me with tears and fake remorse, but I wasn't falling for it anymore. The trust was gone for good. I knew I had to get out of this toxic mess, cut her loose completely, and start rebuilding myself from the ground up. I felt a strange sense of clarity, even if it was mixed with pain and anger. I deserved better than this. I deserved honesty, loyalty, respect. And even if that meant walking away from everything we had built, I was ready to do it. Looking back now, I realize I've learned some harsh lessons. Never ignore the small signs. Never assume someone is faithful just because you want to believe in them. Trust is fragile. Once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. And sometimes revenge isn't about hurting the other person. It's about reclaiming your own dignity, standing up for yourself after being knocked down. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't let betrayal define me. I'll rebuild, stronger and wiser, and I'll make sure that next time I see the signs before they tear me apart. In the end, I decided to cut ties completely. No more excuses, no more justifications. I packed up what was mine, left the house, and started over. It wasn't easy. Hell, it felt like my world had imploded. But with time, I found some clarity. The pain still lingers, but it's duller now, replaced by a resolve to never let myself get blindsided like that again. I realized I had been too trusting, too quick to believe in someone's words without watching their actions carefully. I've learned the importance of boundaries and listening to that little voice inside when something feels off. No matter how much you love someone, you can't ignore the signs of betrayal or manipulation. Trust is earned, not given blindly. And if someone shows you who they really are, whether it's a partner or a friend, you owe it to yourself to believe them the first time. Looking back, I see how much I let my desire for love and stability blind me, but I refuse to stay a victim to my own naivety anymore. I've started focusing on myself, my career, my friends, even picking up old hobbies I'd neglected. I do need someone else to define my happiness. That's a lesson I wish I'd learned sooner, but better late than never. This experience has changed me, no doubt. I'm more cautious now, more aware of what I deserve. I've come to accept that not everyone is loyal, and some betrayals cut so deep that they leave scars you carry for life. But I also know that healing is possible, that you can emerge stronger if you're willing to face the pain and learn from it. To anyone out there going through something similar, here's my advice. Trust yourself first. Don't ignore the signs. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And if they betray you, don't waste your energy on revenge that will only keep you tied to that pain. Instead, channel that pain into building a better version of yourself. Because, at the end of the day, the only person who truly matters in your story is you. And your happiness depends on your ability to walk away from what destroys you and to find peace in what's left.